It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. I'm Kelly Hint, Queen Bee of this hive, your guide through the twists and turns of women's empowerment. And today we're diving into something that's been happening under the radar for way too long. The rise of women in STEM. What I like to call the silent revolution in tech and science. Now, if you're a woman who's ever taken a seat in a tech lab, or been in a boardroom of a tech startup, or found yourself on a research team, well, you probably know how male-dominated these spaces can feel. But here's the thing. Women are quietly but powerfully revolutionizing STEM. We're challenging norms, shattering stereotypes, and creating spaces for ourselves in these industries that have been dominated for too long by one perspective. So buckle up. Today's episode is all about that revolution and the women in labs, data centers, design studios, and tech hubs who are making real change. So before we jump in, I just need to say real quick, a lot of people know that I record these episodes ahead of time, sometimes a month or two ahead of time. So I do not know if the world has blown up at the time that this episode is released. So apologies if something major happened and I don't address it here in the podcast, in this episode. I know that things are a little bit crazy out there right now as we prepare for a change in leadership in this country. And I want to validate everybody's concerns. And as always, please feel free to reach out if you're really struggling about an issue. Also, I really encourage you to join the Hint Hive podcast group. The link is in the episode description. I'm really trying to build this community and have it be a safe space for women and allies from all walks of life, in all stages of their awakening, whether they are people of faith or not. I want it to be a place where we can all support one another and unite and be energized with the singular goal of continuing to amplify women's voices. And also, on another note, I don't know why all of a sudden I decided to say this, but I've been getting some really mean messages on some of my social media platforms in my inboxes. Now, I'm not going to address the violent and sexually based messages, because it's not worth my time or yours. But I do want to say there was one message that, so the person was saying basically, how dare I fight for equality, because I'm in the US and women don't have it as bad as other places in the world. And I will tell you, I didn't respond to it because it wasn't phrased very nicely. And I'm just not going to engage with people like that. However, I will acknowledge that there are places in this world where women are far more oppressed. I mean, there are 100% places where women are far more oppressed than in the United States. I am well aware of that. However, you don't get to minimize the experience of the women here in the United States. There's a resurgence of violence and hatred towards women, and I get to be a voice to fight against that. So I acknowledge the pain of women all over this continent. And I hope that if you are a woman listening to me from another country where you are struggling with severe oppression, For example, if you're not allowed to speak outside the home, if the world isn't allowed to hear your voice, my heart goes out to you in ways I cannot imagine your experience, and I am so sorry. I am sorry. I'm a speck. I'm a grain of sand on the world's biggest beach. I am screaming into a void and making no changes on a global level, and I totally understand that. However, it's not going to stop me. I want to change the world, and I'm going to do it one listener at a time, one person at a time, one patient of mine at a time, one client of mine at a time. Because when people look at the United States and think of us as a superpower, I don't even know if people look at us like that any longer. But if you do, guess what? We've got to get our crap together so that we can continue fighting these issues on a global scale. And right now, we are not in a good place. I agree that we have made progress, and I agree that we are not as oppressed as other women around the world. However, we are still dealing with such inappropriate crap, and I will not minimize what women are going through in the United States just because there are women that have it worse. Because you know what? There are women that have it better too. And a woman who has been sexually assaulted, I do not care where you live. I do not care what country you're in. It's still a horrific, traumatizing event. And so, ladies in the U.S., do not minimize the challenges that you face. They are valid. Just because they are different or seemingly less severe than others, you still get to feel the experience that you're feeling. So, all right, that is all I will say about that. And let's hop into the topic at hand. All right, so first, let's talk some numbers, because numbers do not lie. Globally, women hold less than 30% of research and development roles in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, aka STEM. But that's not because we're lacking the brains or the willpower. No, of course not. It's about access. It's about opportunity. And yeah, it's about bias. And here's where it gets interesting. Despite these odds, women are still pushing through, making monumental strides. You might not see it plastered across every headline, but make no mistake, there is a quiet, powerful shift happening. Women are entering these fields with a purpose, and it's not just about finding a seat at the table. It's about building a new table entirely, one where creativity, collaboration, and empathy are seen as assets, not weaknesses. Think about all the potential we're bringing. Solutions to the world's problems from perspectives that have been underrepresented, from minds that think and innovate differently. This is why diversity is such a beautiful thing. When we take multiple perspectives, we can turn it into gold. Now, let's get into some stories, some badass stories about women making waves in STEM. I'm talking about scientists, engineers, tech innovators, people who have had to climb higher and run faster just to be seen, just to be heard. Take Dr. Mae Jemison, the first Black woman in space. She is a brilliant example of what happens when a woman refuses to be confined by society's limited expectations. Or how about Dr. Katie Bowman, who led the team to capture the first ever image of a black hole? That was huge. But do you know how long it took for her contributions to be properly recognized? Much too long. You know, these women, they are showing us that even when the system is stacked against us, we have the power to push boundaries and bring the world groundbreaking discoveries. And let's not forget the woman in coding and data science, like Dr. Kimberly Bryant, who founded Black Girls Code to create pathways for young Black girls interested in tech. Women like Kimberly aren't just entering these fields, they are reshaping them, creating inclusive environments, and setting a standard for what's possible. So here's the thing, ladies. Breaking into STEM isn't just about career choices. It's about cultural change. Every single woman who steps into a STEM role carries the potential to rewrite the narrative for the next generation. Now, I will tell you, I have had the pleasure of working with two amazing, badass women in STEM fields. They are both such powerhouses, and I am so incredibly proud of them pushing through their barriers, pushing through the patriarchal limitations, the gender role stereotypes, and doing what they're doing. My heart swells. I love these two women so much, and I don't know if they listen to the podcast or not, but I have expressed to them previously that they are amazing for the work they're doing. And I can't tell you enough how much I admire them, especially as someone who's a little bit STEM challenged. I did not excel in the STEM area. I passed my classes. However, it was a struggle for me to use my brain in that way. I'm geared a little bit differently. My talents are more towards relational type things, and motivating people and pumping them up to change the world. So I stay in my lane. I leave the STEM to you badass bitches who've got what it takes in that field. It is not me. Now, I want to talk to those of you listening right now who might be interested in a STEM career or who know a young woman who's passionate about tech or science. These fields need you, and not just because you're smart and driven. They need you because your voice and perspective are essential. The problems we face today, like climate change, mental health, global health crisis, and yes, even cybersecurity, these need literally every kind of mind working on solutions. And that includes your mind. If you've listened to previous episodes, you know that women have been left out of the conversation for centuries. And that resulted in creating medications being administered to women that were never tested on women. This includes the auto industry building their vehicles and safety features around the size of a man, the makeup of a man. Ladies, this is why we need you. This is why we need you to get in there and do your thing. And I won't even go off on my tangent about leadership roles. The tides are changing there, and I'm seeing so much progress with women in leadership, and including even among the women that I work with. We are pushing boundaries in leadership, and I think it's amazing, and we need to keep it up because, again, women belong in every space where decisions are made, especially as they affect us. We bring a beautiful perspective to the table. And it makes me sick that this isn't just common sense. All right, now we're getting into the real talk here. Let's tackle some of the bias that women in STEM face daily. You've probably heard this before, comments like, women aren't as logical, or that they're not wired for STEM fields. Well, newsflash, these stereotypes aren't just inaccurate, they are outdated relics from a time when the idea of women working outside the home was radical. Just like there are some women who wouldn't do well in the STEM profession, guess what? There are some men and non-binary people that would not be great in STEM also. So we cannot stereotype like we used to like historically in this world. And this pipeline problem, the excuse that there aren't enough qualified women for these roles, this is nothing more than a very convenient myth. Because studies have shown that in fields where the representation is more balanced, such as the biological sciences, women not only thrive, but are also producing work at an equal or higher standard than their male counterparts. And yet they are still paid less, promoted less, and recognized less. So let that sink in for a minute. But here's the twist. We are starting to see more companies, institutions, and allies recognize this bias and actively work against it. And I am all here for it. They are putting policies in place to ensure pay equality, mentorship, and real opportunities for advancement. And I applaud them. I applaud these pioneers who should have been doing it in the first place, but yay that you came to the party, even though you're late. Now, there's a lot more work to be done, but hey, the silent revolution is waking people up. And to be quite honest, there's a not so silent revolution happening now, given the results of the United States 2024 election. So buckle up, everyone. Be prepared, because we ladies are here. And we are done with the BS, and we're not staying silent any longer. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be one of the loudest voices I can possibly be in every space that I can possibly occupy, because I personally have made a commitment to stay silent no more. Granted, I haven't really been the most silent to begin with, but I have deferred to men on far too many occasions, and that is all done. I mean, thankfully, I don't spend time with men on a regular basis who do not respect that people were created equal. So I don't have to do too much pushing there. And it's my hope that there will be a day where we don't have to push at all. So what can we do to keep this momentum going as far as women being more visible, especially in the STEM professions? How do we support each other? How do we support our sisters, daughters, and friends when they are pursuing these fields? First, we need to celebrate our successes out loud and in public. If you know a woman killing it in her tech job, talk about her work. Post it all over social media. Celebrate her. Let the world know that she is a woman busting into a man's field, a predominantly male-dominated field, and celebrate her. And if you are in a position to mentor a young woman in STEM, go for it. Please, ladies, if you are in any kind of leadership role in STEM or supervisory role in STEM, mentor another young woman. Representation matters. I think we all saw that. Like, I can tell you right now, again, putting political beliefs aside, when I saw a female move into the position of Vice President of the United States, I was so overcome with joy, and like I was very, very emotional because holy crap. The people who look like me, who have similar parts as me, are actually moving into these amazing positions of power, something that has never happened before. And that just brought such joy that I felt like my gender was finally represented. And I know that there may be some men who listen to this who don't understand. And it's because your gender has always been represented. So try to think a little bit outside the box when you see women rejoicing in some of these areas. It's because we don't see it. When we don't see it, we don't believe that we can be part of it, that we could be there too. I will never forget when we were watching Joe Biden and Kamala Harris after the results were in and they were doing their acceptance speeches or whatever. There was this beautiful little girl of color, and she was just looking at the stage in awe. And I can't talk about it too much because I will get emotional, because it just, I saw so much hope in her eyes. Oh my gosh. And it just touched my heart. So we need that. We need more representation. And ladies, if you have the opportunity to mentor younger generations, please do it. Be the example, be the hope in their eyes, just like that beautiful little girl looking up at that stage. And honestly, just like this 50-year-old woman sitting here in your head right now, I need that too. I need to feel that inspiration from all of you. And, the next part of this is, ladies, do not be afraid to demand more. More pay, more recognition, more opportunities. It is not entitlement. It is equality. And last, let's be fearless about challenging institutions to do better. There is no shame in calling out unfair policies and pushing for systemic change. This is a revolution, remember? And revolutions do not happen in silence forever. Ladies, the time for silence is done. Now is the time that we need to stay motivated and do the work that needs to be done, but we cannot do it in the shadows any longer. We need to be visible. We need to show the younger generation how fierce we can be, how we can go after things that have never been given to us before. We will fight for our rightful place. All right, ladies, as we wrap this up, remember this. You belong wherever you want to be, whether that's in a boardroom, a lab, a tech hub, or all of the above. This silent revolution in STEM is not going away. It's not going to stay silent forever because we are not going to stay silent. Let's keep pushing, keep creating, and keep amplifying our voices. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in to this episode of the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, share, leave a review, join the Facebook group. Follow me on social media. Let's spread the word and support each other in every space, every field, and every revolution. Until next time, keep being bold, keep being brilliant, and keep amplifying your voice. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and The Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out TheCrankyCounselor.com.